for too many Americans. Let's not forget how we got here. Last year, House Republicans passed the big ugly law to rip health care and food away to American families, and they used those cuts to pay for $200 billion to the Department of Homeland Security, including $75 billion to ICE. That's more than 7 times the ICE annual budget. Let that sink in for a moment. Rather than making life more affordable for American families, Republicans decided to use their signature piece of legislation to give a blank check to Kristi Noem. Now, we've seen this out-of-control, bloated agency carry out some of the most horrific crimes in American history. From trampling on the Constitution to murdering U.S. citizens and violating civil and human rights, there is no question that this brutality must end, and House Democrats are united in that. We cannot act like this is business as usual. That's why Democrats are using every tool at our disposal to hold this administration accountable, and that starts with removing the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Democrats are joining the American people in demanding that federal immigration agents are held to the same standards as our local police officers. Our caucus is united in demanding 4 common sense reforms. Body cameras must be required by law, and masks must come off. Judicial warrants are a requirement, not a suggestion. We must have independent investigations to prosecute agents responsible for carrying out abuses. And finally, there needs to be clear guidelines on use of force. Democrats won't rest until we enact real change in this lawless agency. Vice Chair Luke.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. Trump's tariffs continue to increase inflation. The recent producer price index came in hot. Economists predicted a 0.2% rise. It was 0.5%. And what that means is tariffs are now causing businesses to pass on these increased costs to consumers. And what is Trump focused on? Closing the Kennedy Center. Apparently, he couldn't even get Kid Rock to perform there. And now we have this hallowed, amazing institution of the United States closed because Donald Trump royally screwed up when he vandalized it by putting his name on it. I agree with Chairman Aguilar with everything he said about Trump's ICE and Border Patrol. Trump's ICE and Border Patrol interior operations are out of control. And not only did they kill 2 civilians last month, but you see continuing videos and stories of their abuses. We learned recently that ICE shackled a woman for 24 hours in a bathroom with 3 other men. The faucet didn't work, and when the men would go to a toilet, the woman would hide her face. We know that ICE also detained a 5-year-old citizen, Liam, who then got sick because of the horrible conditions at the detention facility, and a federal judge ordered the release because ICE is just flat out violating the law. It turns out some of the folks that ICE is taking came in here legally through legal processes last year. And if the Trump administration doesn't like that, they've got to change the law. They can't just take people who came in here legally and then try to deport them. And that's why you have judges doing what they just did in this case and release 5-year-old Liam. I also want to echo what Chairman Aguilar said about Kristi Noem. Under her leadership, the Department of Homeland Security has killed a number of Americans. She needs to resign or she needs to be fired, and if not, impeachment proceedings need to proceed. And with that, I yield back.
Questions? Max?
As you mentioned, a lot of Democrats have issues with the way DHS and Kristi Noem are handling situations in the U.S. As a result, how will you vote on the funding package later today, which does provide temporary funding for DHS?
I think we'll have members on, some members will vote yes and some members will vote no. This has been a topic of discussion that we've had that you guys have reported on over the weekend. We had emergency caucus meetings where we were hearing from members. We understand the perspectives that our members bring to the table. Some of the appropriators feel like they need to support this deal. Other members feel deeply concerned that even 2 weeks of of ICE continued funding is, in a sense, blessing what they have done and what they will continue to do, terrorizing our communities. But our caucus is united, and look, I know you folks are going to talk about this vote. We're opposing the rule because Speaker Johnson apparently told his crew that they could pass this on suspension over the weekend, as was reported. That's false. There was no discussion that would lead any rational person to believe that 100 Democrats could vote for this. If they have a problem passing these bills, they need to talk to Hakeem Jeffries. But the first step was in admitting that this can't pass on suspension, and so now they have to pass a rule. If they pass a rule, which we'll see in the next few hours, then we'll have a quick debate and we'll see where members land on this. This has been the unifying force of members, though, has been these themes. Right, has been Kristi Noem is the head of this agency that is seemingly lawless and doesn't care about the First, Second, Fourth, or 10th Amendment, and she's got to go. We want to protect our communities. We've said that from the very first press conference that the vice chair and I did last year after the president, pardoned violent criminals. And that continues to be a focal point, is what is best to protect our communities while respecting the rule of law. And what we know is that Kristi Noem doesn't believe in this. They're willing to let Stephen Miller make policy over there. And I think what members were also showed is 59% of Fox, this is a Fox poll, 59% said ICE was too aggressive. So Speaker Johnson is on the wrong side of this. He's already dismissing some of the reasonable reforms that we're offering. The proof continues to be the American people speaking in a poll, at Fox, or speaking at the ballot in Texas. The American people are fed up of this. They are fed up of lawless ICE. They are fed up of runaway budgets with no accountability, and they are fed up of the rhetoric that Republicans are trying to offer to justify this lawlessness. And it's going to be on us. It's going to be on House Democrats to push back. And we will push back now. We will push back in February, and we will push back all the way through November until we get an opportunity to change the temperature in this place.
A few weeks ago, I went to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and met with nonprofit groups and local law enforcement. We did a Democratic field hearing, and their stories of abuse are horrific. You have Trump's ICE completely being out of control. We also know that the public pressure is working. The Trump administration is starting to backtrack. They removed Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Greg Bovino from Minnesota. We also know that he has now engaged in anti-Semitic comments. He needs to resign. We also know that Kristi Noem yesterday issued a directive saying all field agents in Minneapolis must wear body cameras. That is a start, but every one of their agents across America needs to wear body cameras like real police officers do. And I encourage American people to continue this public pressure and to exercise their First Amendment rights.
Michael?
Just to drill down before I ask my question, you're going to wait to see if the Republicans can pass a rule before you decide how you're going to vote, or you know?
Or I'm going to wait until we pass a rule before I tell people what I'm going to vote.
Okay.
But either way, it serves the same purpose. But look, we've over the last couple of days, the vice chair and I have tried to create an environment with the leadership team where we hear directly from members who are struggling, who are frustrated by what they see. And the week back home, where we talked to folks in our communities about the local lawlessness of ICE, really put a finer point on that. We weren't, in D.C. comparing notes. We were back home talking to our communities, and we're the ones that have to look folks in the eye who have experienced some of these tragedies and horrific behavior. The vice chair in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and many other folks visiting ICE detention facilities or trying to visit ICE detention facilities or talking to community leaders and advocates. But time and time again, what we hear from our colleagues is we have to make changes. We have to reform DHS. They were given unlimited amounts of money by House Republicans, and we need to have meaningful reforms because they are unchecked. They have been proven time and time again unworthy of our trust and unworthy of the benefit of the doubt. All of us are here on the Democratic side. I know the vice chair and I feel this way. We want government to work. We know it can be an instrument of good. We know it can help people in their daily lives. And what these folks are doing sets all of us back because they are now going to be afraid. And I talked to our local law enforcement leaders about this in San Bernardino County last week. Local law enforcement is concerned that people aren't going to report crime or they aren't going to say that they are a witness of a crime because they're afraid that everybody is working with ICE. And that hurts us. If people don't feel like they can answer a police officer's question on what they saw for fear of their status, that sets us all back. And by the way, every one of these law enforcement agencies, I met with locally, they have an identifier on them. They have their name on a polo. They have their name on their uniform. It says which agency employs them. They have a clear identifier as to who they are and where they work. Shame on us if we can't create an environment that mirrors exactly what our local governments have been doing and have been doing well and have been doing with the trust and support of our community members.
Mr. Chairman, really quickly, you all got a 3-year extension through a discharge petition during the last shutdown, after the last shutdown, and it's languishing in the Senate right now. It's not looking like it's going to get a vote. You and Republicans are far apart on these reform demands that you all are looking to get. In a world where any of these reforms happen, and we can talk about all the different ways that they could, are you concerned that the same thing that's happening with the ACA subsidies, where the bill is languishing in the Senate right now, is the same thing that will be happening on ICE and DHS reforms?
No, I'm more hopeful. I'm more optimistic that House Democrats and Senate Democrats are united in reforming ICE, and I know that our Senate colleagues are supportive of the Affordable Care Act tax credits too. That faces difficulties with 60 votes and needing so many Republicans to join on board too. But I will tell you that the conversations I've had with a small amount of senators, it leads me to think that they are united with us. They want to stand, with us to reform this terrible agency, and they're willing to, stand up and speak up and use their voice and their platform and their vote in order to make that happen, because they see what we've all seen. They see that this administration is trying to tell us, don't believe your eyes, trust us, and we know that they're not worthy of that. So, I feel confident in the strength of the House Democratic Caucus and our unified purpose and message. No matter what the vote outcome is, we're going to walk out and we're going to be focused on how we get rid of Kristi Noem and how we ensure that DHS is a reasonable organization, and that's going to take significant reforms to get there.
Thank you.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune said this morning that it's an impossibility that there would be a deal within the next 10 days. If that's the case, do House Democrats plan to uniformly vote against another CR for DHS?
One step at a time. We got the rule vote in front of us this morning, and in the afternoon we have our vote. I'm not going to presuppose what's going to happen in 10 days today, but I will tell you that it's been shocking to see that House and Senate Republicans don't even want reasonable reforms to this lawless agency. They're seeing the same numbers and the same polls we are. The American public is standing with us and asking us to do something, and John Thune and Speaker Johnson are willing to just do nothing. They're willing to just let let the status quo continue. House and Senate Democrats have said time and time again that's not going to happen. Andrew, and then
Grassroots groups, progressive members have said that letting DHS funding continue to lapse is in itself the leverage that is needed to do things like get Kristi Noem out of office, to get significant reforms at ICE, including, beyond body cameras and things that folks say are not significant enough in the aftermath of these Minneapolis shootings. What will you say to the base when, inevitably, there are enough members who have said they're going to vote to pass the government funding bill on final passage? What will you say to the base when they say you guys have just given up your leverage?
what I'll say to all of you and what I'll say to the members, first, we got to see what happens with this rule vote. You're making an assumption that this package passes in the afternoon, and I think that's fair. That's fine. I'll play along. But what you'll hear from members and what you'll hear us say to folks, inside, outside, whatever organizations you call it, is, we have more opportunities. We have more opportunities for leverage, not 6 months away, not in the next appropriation cycle, not, September 30th. We have some opportunities to make our voices heard in the next 10 days. And if we can build a coalition that includes our Senate colleagues and includes the American public who are seemingly already with us, that's a good first step. So that's what's in front of us. We'll see what happens with this vote, but I feel very confident saying that House Democrats are going to emerge and to say we need reforms on ICE. We have a list that we want done, and we aren't settling for half measures. And if Leader Thune and Speaker Johnson don't want to come to the table and negotiate real reform, then they're going to have to explain to the American public why they're shutting down, agencies. And maybe that's something they're comfortable, doing, but that's not going to be on us. It's going to be on them approving the lawlessness of ICE without making simple reforms that respect the First, Second, Fourth, 10th Amendment, and tries to offer some level of accountability and oversight over these agencies.
Thank you, Chairman. It appears this deal we're voting on today stems from Leader Schumer talking directly to the White House. Do you feel that House Democrats are being included enough in those conversations, especially if we get down to the road of negotiating possible changes to ICE later on?
I don't think we were party to that conversation, last week. That's fine. Look, we play the cards we're dealt. We're voting on the measures that are on the floor. I'm not interested in playing parlor games over, who talked to who or hurt feelings about, missing a phone call. I don't care about that. My colleagues don't care about that. This is the vote in front of us. This is what we have. We have a rule vote coming up shortly, and then we have the full bill that includes the full year funding measures for the 5 agencies and the 2-week CR for DHS. That's in front of us. We've been asking for simple reforms to this lawless agency. We're going to continue to work with the American public and build a coalition that gets that accomplished, because nothing's going to change until we actually enact meaningful reforms to this agency. You.
I wanted to ask in regards to the Clintons agreeing to testify ahead of the contempt vote. Republicans gave them a noon deadline. I'm curious, there seems like obviously several Democrats broke with the party to recommend it out of committee. I guess, do you guys think, do House Democrats owe it to a former president and a former presidential nominee of their party to protect them from bipartisan subpoenas?
Like, this is about, and I don't want to get ahead of the committee. Robert Garcia and the committee members can talk about their votes and explain their votes, but criminal contempt of Congress is a very serious thing that should be reserved for, we should only vote on something that serious when someone completely thumbs their nose at Congress and doesn't want to, come in and meet. The Clintons have proposed a schedule to meet. They've accepted every condition that the chairman has offered. So clearly there is no basis behind a contempt vote, and yes, contempt vote right now. There's no basis for that. We won't support that. It's completely ridiculous, and it just shows the partisan nature of Chairman Comer. Right? I told you before when this came up a couple weeks ago. Right, like this is all political theatrics. This is about him wanting to score political points because he probably was at a rally at some point and yelled, lock her up. That's all this is about, is him trying to fulfill that, conservative, wet dream to make that happen. And so that's just that's where we are, and that's what the politics of this moment. But there's no basis for a contempt vote, and I hope one doesn't come to the floor.
So why are Republicans so interested in Bill and Hillary Clinton? It's because they're trying to distract from the fact that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children. So I encourage your press to go look at these allegations, and I'm highly disturbed that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche just got the law wrong. Yesterday, he said, essentially, that it is not a crime to party with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's actually not correct. If Jeffrey Epstein was human trafficking minors for these sex parties, and you show up and patronize the establishment at that party, yes, you're guilty, because patronizing is part of the law, the federal sex trafficking law. So Deputy General Todd Blanche just got that wrong, which maybe explains why they aren't investigating all these folks, including Donald Trump. He needs to read the law and investigate these people. He also needs to resign, not only for not knowing the law, but a massive, not only screw up, but the biggest privacy violation in history. They release a lot of pictures of minors unredacted, just violated the privacy of these girls. It is uncalled for what they did. The one thing that they could not do under this law was to invade the privacy of these women now, who were girls at the time, who were victims of sex trafficking. Also, he met with Ghislaine Maxwell, moved her to minimum security prison, and then got a puppy for her. So for all those reasons, he's just got to leave the Department of Justice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The one time I show up for these press conferences too, it goes overcome.
I ended up editing.
Unlike with Jeffrey, who's just very careful about that man because he will lawyerify everything I say. You're checking to see if
No, I was trying to see if I forgot anything, because I'm notorious for leaving specifically my water bottles in here, and then I feel really bad for the people that.
I will say, despite